Run. This is finally it. I'm doing the top 20 Mario Party Superstars ranking video. And, well, this is also the finalized version, so, because I have some very hard choices, and some of my things might have been messy with my picks, so I thought, why not just do one final version of this ranking? And then after that, and then after that, I'll do top 10 best Mario Party mini Superstars things. I'll also do that. And anyway, like, subscribe, and throw in the comments, and let's get into it. The top 20 worst Mario Party Superstars mini games. Okay, some people. Alright, let's go with the number 20. Some people might be offended. This might be someone's favorite sport. Some people might like this one, but you know I have to put goal. It's a mini game related to football. And yeah, football. I don't like this mini game. It's kind of imbalanced because why do you have to have one goalie dodging 3 footballs at once? Isn't that bad for a mini game in Mario Party? But like at its absolute limits for it, but that wouldn't really be much. There wouldn't really be of it to be, but there is a lot more. But it is too unbalanced. And there's actually there are 2 other football mini games, and there's one of them is a lot better than this one. Okay, the next pick I think is going to be a little less controversial, because most people would have this on a worst list, and personally I don't like this version more than like the other version of Bowser's Big Blast. I think this minigame is better in Mario Party 2 on the Wii U Virtual Console mode, only because you get save states there. On the Wii U Virtual Console, you get save states for this. I'm not making this up, you actually get save states. And also if you're on an emulator, you can also get save states, but on the Wii U Virtual Console. So you get restore points, or are actually what they're called. That's what a virtual console is. And Bowser's Big Blast is better there, but here it's bad because it's complete luck. And Bowser's Big Blast could also, I don't want to like pressing the wrong button and potentially messing up an entire game. Like, this can be a battle game. I don't want to mess up an entire game of Mario Party Superstars just for Bowser's Big Blast having to sabotage me. That's just what I think. I'm just moving. Okay, this one is kind of like a minigame called Ice Rink Risk, but this video did it much, not video, why am I calling it video? This minigame did it much worse than this, so this has to be the one on the list, called Pit Boss. It's like Ice Rink Risk, but the pit's too small, and the spike balls are too big, and Bowser is but this is only at number 18, because it's less likely you'll see this, because this is a Bowser minigame. But I put it up just because it's less likely you'd see this. So that's why this is not that bad. And also, as per usual, I leave these some of the minigames I think aren't going to be that much of an issue are going to be on this half of the list. So things like Later Skater, because I just can't control it, because I hold the A button, and all of a sudden I'm always pushed back. It's like, feels unfair. This is why this is at number 17. I keep mixing these up today. This is probably why top 20. It's going to be a lot of a mixy list. So yeah, I'll move on. Okay, you know something? There was a mini game in Mario Party 1 and 2, but mostly Mario Party 2 because that's what I remember. With a mini game where you ride down snowballs. Bobsled Run is definitely not fun because there's a button mashing, which I feel like I have an unfair advantage in button mashing stuff most of the time. And the controls are still kind of, they are better than in Mario Party 2, don't get me wrong, but I can win this a little more better. But I feel like it's more not legit enough that I get to... And even if it was that legit, I probably wouldn't have put this... This is still just not run. And there's a minigame that is entirely button mashing that does this a little better. In Mario Party Superstars, there is a minigame... There are dual minigames. And in the duel minigames, there's a 1v1 thing where there are most of things. And I think the duel minigames are not good. I don't like most of these duel minigames. Like Mass Meteor, I don't like it because I get an unfair advantage because of all the I get an unfair disadvantage, because of all the meteors. And they're still no good. And that does not help any better than what you think. And you might think it does, but I think no. It's just never fun. That is never fun enough. So, for that, this has to be on this. And also, I'm moving straight on to number 14. Tock Hop. It's not as bad, but it is only worse because I play this as... Every time I play this Donkey Kong, I get this minigame. It's unfair because of the apparent bad hitbox. Because I jumped at there. I don't know whether or not what's going on, but it wouldn't have made it fun anyway because I do not really like these timing minigames most of the time. So even if that won't make it better, it would at least bump it up to number 2 and a higher number, which is not good and not bad. But this is just what it has to be. Okay, in my opinion, the worst duel minigame in Mario Party Superstars is Spin Doctor. It's because you have to go through a maze of spinning gates, and the gates, it's more luck dependent than anything because of the red gates being more restrictive and the blue ones being annoying. And most of the time I lose this very often. And I've only won this at least one time, I don't remember. So that's why Spin Doctor has to be here. That's probably the worst duel minigame. Okay, now time for the item minigames, right? Because the item minigames are kind of controversial, you know? Because sometimes you can get an item all the time, and sometimes it's nearly impossible. But I could say one thing, that the item minigame Winner's Wheel definitely has to be here, as Winner's Wheel itself is kind of horrible because it's completely luck. But I know it's just an item minigame, so it's not as low, but I like items in my Mario Party games. And this one being completely luck, just... I'm moving on now. Okay, you know something I'm not a big fan of right now? Sports. I'm not a big sports fan. Because, but there's one sport that felt completely not fun when I played this. Called Beach Volley Folly. This has to be on here because every time I do it, sometimes I don't know what's going on. I don't know if I'm playing it right or wrong. But there is also another sports minigame better than this in the sports and puzzles category. And besides, the only thing that keeps it on this half of the list is the fact that you can't see this in the Mario Party mode, so I won't have to play this that much. You know what? Alright, back to the category of items. Right? And you know how much of items I have those items? Well, the worst item minigame was probably Hammer Slammer. Because I get an unfair advantage. And even when I'm not using a turbo controller. Even if I'm not using turbo. But it's even bad because there are 2 windows in which you can fail. You can either just mash too hard and have the rocket blast you, or you can mash too low and not even get an item. This is why Hammer Slammer is no good. No. There's this minigame that everyone doesn't like, and I could probably agree. Sneak and Snore is one of them. Yes, Sneak and Snore definitely is. And, yeah. And obviously Sneak and Snore has to be on this list. With no questions. It's because it ends in a draw or a tie, as it's mainly called most of the time, which isn't good. It ends in a draw just too much. There's just, something I don't like about some of these minigames? The fact that the controls that are A to B sometimes have been switched to L and R. For some minigames that functions well, but if you're thinking of minigames like Rockin' Raceway, it's not. I don't know if for Rockin' Raceway, if L and R, it was always rocking L and R or it was A and B. I don't know, but that's still not good because alternating L and R is not good and is actually not fun. in the slightest, and I never win this one for some reason. So that's why this is on the list. And it's also abuse of good music. Okay, this one I was actually in one of my previous ones. So you know I had to pick this eventually. I'm going with Flash Forward. Sadly, the course variations couldn't save it from some unfair stuff, and it just boiling down to the last couple of seconds. And it can end in a draw as well. It can also end in a draw / tie. Oh, so the time. Most of it time, which I don't approve of it. I can't really approve of minigames ending in draws and ties most of the time. I don't like, and I actually do like that, but sometimes if it happens too often, it's like, oh, yeah, I'm removed. You know the sports and puzzles ones? I don't really like the sports and puzzle minigames because you won't even see them on the Mario Party, and the only one you do, Mario's Puzzle Party, is not a good example. I'm seriously saying this is not a good example of a sports and puzzle minigame you can have, because, well, it's like it takes too long or too fast, and it's like hard to win because it's like Tetris. It's like a very bad style of Tetris, and you have to match up blocks. You can do a lot of stuff, but still, it's just not good. It's so. If I'm looking at the 1 versus 3 category of minigames, you know that they're very unbalanced, right? Well, let's talk about another one that's unbalanced, which is also based on a sport. Archery Archer. You would think this is a sport, but just Google it. You know, it's a sport. But anyway, this minigame's unbalanced because it's like in favor of the person with the archery, because the computers are not very smart enough, and the NPCs, like the Bowser Junior NPCs, they just get in your way too much, and it's annoying. The fact that it gets in your way is kind of annoying. We're almost down there, and I'm thinking hide and sneak should be classed next. And I know, and it's also luck based, and it's kind of unbalanced because of that. Especially because I think in Mario Party 3 it was more balanced, but here I don't know if I should really. Right. Here's a minigame with also the LNR problem. It's Balloon Burst. Because this is like also a minigame that does not work with LNR. Because in Mario Party 2, I could use A and B. I could just brush A and B and easily get away with the win, or this ends in a draw. But anyway, okay, number 2. We're down to the wire now. And this minigame is at number 2. It's not quite the worst, but it's here because it made me really rage during a game of Mario Party. Castaways. I told you about this in my worst Mario Party minigame, remade Mario Party minigames from every game video. I talked about this one, and this still holds up as a very bad minigame. It got people injured, actually, because well, when this game was originally introduced back in like the 19th century, players actually found out that rotating with the palm of their hand's good, but rotating with the palm of the hand left blisters on them. So that's why there was a whole lawsuit situation. But even if it was still not fun, because I raged and got 0 coins during this minigame. And also it's just hard and not fun to reach the chests and all the other stuff. So this is definitely number 2. And now the worst Mario Party Super minigame is Dungeon Duos. Is definitely the worst. Don't get offended. It's just my list. You can make your own list. No arguing, okay? Anyway, the reason this isn't the worst minigame is because of the fact that it's just too much button mashing for me. And even if I haven't used turbo, it's still kind of an unfair advantage, I find it. But even though this minigame is still not going to be any better. And besides, if I get this in a game Mario Party, and besides, even without the button mashing, there is still the jumping on the little spin pads and your teammate not cooperating. Both are kind of not good to deal with. And this is probably why this is the worst minigame in Mario Party Superstars, and they should not have brought this back. Don't get offended again. Okay, this is the end. Like, subscribe, don't swear in the comments, and I shall see you.